Hey friend, welcome to English Talk Show. So glad you pressed play today. I know your time matters, and my goal for the next hour is simple: to give you practical, real-life strategies you can use the moment this episode ends. But first, let's talk about something we don't always admit out loud. Have you ever felt stuck practicing English on your own? Maybe you understand a lot, but when it's time to speak, your words feel slow, your mind goes blank, and you think, if only I had a partner, I'd finally improve. If that's you, breathe. You're in the right place. Today is for people who don't have a study buddy, who can't join a class right now, or who just want a method that works on their schedule. Here's the big truth to kick us off. You do not need a partner to get better at speaking English. Let me say that again. Your progress does not depend on another person's calendar, mood, or availability. It depends on a few trainable skills you can build by yourself: noticing, repeating, recording, and refining. You can learn the rhythm of natural speech without a live conversation. You can train your mouth to move faster and more clearly without anyone sitting across from you. You can give yourself feedback, track your growth, and become the kind of learner who is unstoppable because you know how to practice, not just what to study. If that sounds bold, good, because we're here to bust the first myth right now. The myth says conversation is the only path to fluency. The reality is that conversation is a destination built from smaller habits, turning listening into speaking, turning reading into sound, and turning mistakes into corrections. When you learn how to copy native rhythm, when you record your own voice and hear what others hear, when you deliberately fix one tiny thing each day, your pronunciation, your sentence flow, your vocabulary, your speaking starts to change, even if you've never booked a single speaking partner. You don't need permission to improve. You just need a plan you can actually follow. So here's my promise to you for this episode. I'm going to give you a step-by-step, no-excuses blueprint for practicing solo. Short, focused drills you can do in 10 minutes, creative ideas that make practice feel fun instead of heavy, and advanced techniques you can grow into over time. I'll show you how to talk to yourself in smart ways that build fluency, how to shadow the right way so you pick up natural intonation, how to record mini monologues that make your progress visible, and how to combine listening and speaking so every podcast or video becomes a speaking workout. By the end, you won't be waiting for a partner. You'll be confident running your own practice like a pro. Before we dive in, I want you to set one intention for today. Choose to be a doer, not just a listener. Don't try to remember everything. Pick one technique you'll try immediately after this episode. That single action is how momentum starts. And if your brain whispers, "But what if I mess up?" Remember, improvement lives on the other side of messy. Mistakes are not proof that you can't speak. They're proof that you're training. Stick with me until the end, because I've got a bonus tip that can supercharge your solo practice. A simple, tech-powered method that simulates real conversation on demand, helps you role-play real-life situations, and gives you instant feedback without judgment. It's the kind of tool that turns 5 spare minutes into a powerful speaking session. And once you see how to use it, you'll never say, "I don't have a partner," again. All right, take a deep breath, shake out your shoulders. This is your hour. You've got curiosity, you've got drive, and you've got me as your guide. Let's make practicing English alone not just possible, but effective, motivating, and, yes, fun. Ready? Let's get to work. Let's dive into one of my favorite sections, myth-busting. You see, so many learners carry heavy beliefs about language learning that quietly hold them back. They don't even realize these beliefs are myths. They feel like unshakable truths. But when you shine some light on them, you realize they are just mental barriers, not reality. And once those barriers come down, the road forward gets so much clearer. So let's break down the 4 biggest myths about practicing English alone and replace them with strategies that actually work. The first myth is probably the strongest one out there. You can't get better without a partner. This one keeps people waiting for a friend to have free time, waiting for a class to start, waiting for the perfect opportunity that often never comes. The truth is, you can absolutely train your speaking without anyone sitting across from you. The key is shadowing and self-recording. Shadowing means listening to a short clip of a native speaker, pausing and repeating with the same rhythm, intonation, and emotion. You're not just parroting words, you're absorbing the music of the language. It's like vocal training for English. Pair that with recording yourself, and suddenly you have a mirror for your voice. When you listen back, you'll hear your pronunciation, your pauses, even the way your sentences flow. At first, it feels awkward. Nobody loves listening to their own voice. But after a while, you start noticing progress. You catch mistakes you didn't even know you were making, and you can fix them immediately. That's powerful. The second myth sounds convincing too. No one is here to correct me, so it's pointless. This one used to be true decades ago, but today we live in a world where technology literally sits in your pocket ready to help. You can use apps with speech recognition that tell you if your pronunciation matches native patterns. You can use grammar checkers that don't just correct your writing, but even highlight your word choice and tone. Even AI tools can role-play conversations with you and give feedback in real time. The idea that you're practicing in a vacuum with no correction is outdated. In fact, self-correction is one of the best habits you can build. When you learn how to notice your own mistakes and fix them yourself, you become less dependent on teachers and partners. You turn into your own coach. That skill doesn't just help you with English, it helps you with every language or skill you'll ever learn. Now, the third myth might be the most emotional one. Studying alone is boring. I get it. Nobody wants to sit in silence repeating textbook sentences for hours. But practicing alone does not have to mean dry and lonely. In fact, it can be incredibly fun if you let creativity in. Think about it. You can turn practice into games. Challenge yourself to watch a movie in English without subtitles and write down 5 new phrases you catch. Or sing along to your favorite songs like you're at karaoke night. Singing forces your mouth to move in rhythm and teaches you phrase stress naturally. Try a vocabulary challenge. Can you use 10 new words today while cooking, cleaning, or driving? The more playful you make it, the more your brain will cooperate. Boredom usually comes when practice is too passive. Switch it up. Turn your practice into a performance, a challenge, even a game with yourself. And suddenly, it's not just effective, it's something you look forward to. And finally, myth number 4. I need to study for hours every day to make real progress. This one is so common that it causes guilt. People think, if I don't have 2 hours, there's no point in starting. That's dangerous because it makes you skip practice altogether. The reality is that consistency always beats intensity. 10 focused minutes every day will do more for your fluency than 2 hours once a week. Your brain learns best in small, repeated doses. Think of it like exercise. If you go to the gym for 5 hours once a month, you're not going to see results. But if you do 15 minutes every morning, your body changes. Language works the same way. Short bursts of daily practice, shadowing for 5 minutes, reading aloud for 10, recording a quick 1-minute story. Stack up over weeks and months until you realize you're speaking faster, clearer, and more confidently without even thinking about it. So, those are the 4 myths. Waiting for a partner, thinking correction is impossible, believing practice is boring, and assuming you need endless hours. All of them are lies that hold learners back. The truth is, you can become fluent on your own, with tools, creativity, and a consistent plan. And once you throw those myths out the window, you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building real results. This is the mindset shift that unlocks the rest of the episode. Because now, instead of asking, "Do I need a partner?" the question becomes, what can I do today to grow my English, right here, right now, with what I already have? And that's exactly where we're headed next. Before we continue, let me tell you something very important. You understand English, right? But when it's time to speak, nothing comes out. The problem isn't grammar, it's practice. You just need more speaking practice. The truth is, if you don't use English, you'll never become fluent. With the English Conversation Guide, you practice real dialogues, introductions, travel, meetings, even small talk. With audio, you can repeat anytime, anywhere. Soon, your brain stops translating and starts thinking in English. That's when fluency happens. Think of it like a gym for your speaking muscles. A few minutes every day, and English starts to flow. Get the English Conversation Guide and finally speak with confidence. Now that we've cleared away the myths, let's get practical. This is the part I love the most, because it's not about theory. It's about real, simple actions you can take today to make English part of your life. And the best part is, none of these strategies require you to schedule with anyone else. They're completely in your control, and they fit into the flow of your day. If you commit to even a couple of them consistently, you'll notice your fluency growing in ways that surprise you. So, let's break down some of the most powerful solo strategies you can start right now. The first one is deceptively simple but incredibly effective: narrating your daily activities in English. Think about how many small things you do every day: making coffee, brushing your teeth, cooking, driving, folding laundry. Each of those is an opportunity to practice forming sentences on the fly. Instead of just thinking silently, you say what you're doing out loud. I'm pouring water into the kettle. The water is starting to boil. Now I'm adding the coffee grounds. At first, it might sound silly, but this is exactly the kind of speaking exercise your brain needs. You're training yourself to describe the world around you in real time, which is the foundation of conversation. It builds fluency because you stop translating in your head and start associating English directly with your actions. Over time, you'll notice that words start to come more naturally, and you won't freeze as much when someone asks you a simple question. The second strategy is shadowing with your favorite series or movies. Shadowing is one of the most powerful techniques for improving pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, and it doesn't require a teacher. All you need is a short clip, ideally something you already enjoy. Let's say you pick a scene from your favorite sitcom. You play one line, pause, and then repeat it out loud, trying to match not just the words, but the emotion, the tone, and the flow. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on copying the natural rhythm. If you stumble, rewind and try again. Do it as many times as you need until it feels smoother. The magic here is that you're not just memorizing vocabulary, you're absorbing the music of English. You learn how sentences rise and fall, how native speakers stress certain words, how they connect sounds. Do this regularly, and your speech starts to sound less robotic and more natural, almost like you've lived in an English-speaking environment. Another practical method is quick recordings, what I call the 2-minute challenge. Every day, grab your phone, set a timer for 2 minutes, and just talk. Pick a topic, your day at work, a news story, a recipe you love, your goals for the week, and speak continuously for the full 2 minutes. Don't stop, don't worry about mistakes, just keep going. Then, here's the important part. Listen back. Notice where you hesitated, where you repeated words, where your pronunciation slipped. Write down 1 or 2 small goals for next time, like use 5 new words, or focus on linking sounds. The next day, do it again. Over time, these mini recordings become a timeline of your growth. You'll be able to hear yourself improving, and that's a huge motivator. Plus, it's a realistic practice. 2 minutes is short enough to fit into any day, but powerful enough to build fluency if you keep at it. Let's move to another classic technique, reading aloud. Many learners underestimate how valuable it is to read out loud, but it's one of the simplest ways to strengthen your pronunciation and build confidence. You can start with articles, short stories, or even children's books if you want simpler vocabulary. The goal is not just to read the words, but to read them with expression, as if you were telling a story to someone. Once a week, record yourself reading for a couple of minutes. At the end of the month, listen to all your recordings back to back. I guarantee you will hear progress. Your voice will sound smoother, your sentences will flow more easily, and you'll catch fewer mistakes. This is one of those practices that feels quiet but pays off massively over time. And finally, let's talk about small immersion habits, the kind that slip English into your daily routine without you even noticing. Change the language of your phone to English. It forces you to see and process everyday words like settings, notifications, calendar in English. Switch your GPS voice to English. You'll learn directions without flashcards. Follow a few Instagram or TikTok accounts that post in English, so your social media feed becomes a mini classroom. Even labeling objects around your house with sticky notes, mirror, door, fridge, gives your brain little flashes of vocabulary throughout the day. These small tweaks might feel minor, but together they create an environment where English is no longer just a study subject, it's part of your life. And that's the real secret to fluency. So, to recap this section, narrate your life in English, shadow your favorite shows, record yourself in 2-minute bursts, read aloud regularly, and surround yourself with tiny English cues through your phone and social media. None of these require hours of study. None of them require another person. They're flexible, fun, and designed to make English part of your daily reality. And the more consistently you do them, the more natural speaking will feel. Up next, we're going to talk about how to organize all these strategies into a simple weekly plan so you never feel lost or overwhelmed. But before that, take a second to choose one of these techniques you'll try today. Don't wait until tomorrow. Pick one, commit, and give it a go. That's how progress begins.
One of the most overlooked aspects of learning English on your own is not talent, not intelligence, not even resources. It's organization. Many learners feel motivated at first, but because they don't have a structure or a clear roadmap, they quickly burn out or lose track of what to do next. Creating a weekly study plan is like giving yourself a compass. It doesn't have to be complicated or strict, but it needs to be realistic and sustainable. For example, instead of promising yourself that you will study 3 hours every day, which is almost impossible if you work or study, you can commit to shorter, focused sessions. Maybe 20 minutes in the morning to practice speaking with shadowing, 15 minutes at night to read or listen to something in English, and once a week, a longer session where you review everything and record yourself speaking. This kind of plan is flexible enough to fit your life, but structured enough to keep you consistent. Now, let's talk about tools. It's easy to get trapped in the world of apps. Apps can be useful. They can gamify learning, give you quick exercises, and even some instant feedback. But the truth is, real growth comes when you mix these tools with authentic content. Authentic content means things that were created for native speakers, not learners. Think of podcasts, YouTube vlogs, articles, or even Instagram Reels. When you consume authentic content, you expose yourself to the real rhythm, expressions, and cultural context of the language. Apps are like training wheels. They help you start, but authentic content is where you actually learn to ride the bike. A great structure is to balance the two. Use apps for quick daily practice, but also make sure you immerse yourself in authentic content that feels alive and relevant to your interests. Another powerful organizational strategy is role play, especially simulating interviews. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview in English. Instead of waiting until you have a real one, you can create a practice interview with yourself. Write down 5 common questions like, "Tell me about yourself," or "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" Then, practice answering them out loud. You can even record your answers and listen back, noticing your tone, vocabulary, and fluency. This kind of self-role play not only prepares you for real situations, but also pushes you to speak in a structured way. And the best part? You don't need anyone else to do it with you. Finally, let's explore one of my favorite techniques, acting. Acting might sound strange at first, but it's incredibly effective for language learners. Take a short script from a movie or a series, and instead of just watching it, perform it. Read the lines, mimic the intonation, even try to copy the emotions of the character. You can do this alone in front of a mirror or record yourself and watch it later. By performing, you step out of your comfort zone, and your brain starts to associate English not just with study, but with creativity, play, and expression. It's no longer just about grammar and vocabulary. It becomes about storytelling, connection, and personality. When you bring all of these elements together, a realistic weekly plan, the balance between apps and authentic content, role-play simulations, and the acting technique, you create a powerful structure for your solo English journey. You don't feel lost anymore because you know exactly what to do. And the best part? It doesn't feel heavy or boring. It feels like a lifestyle. Step by step, week by week, you'll see how much progress you can make when you add structure and creativity to your learning routine.
When we talk about learning English, or any language really, one of the biggest game changers is setting clear and measurable goals. Without them, your learning becomes vague and you never really know whether you are moving forward or just circling in place. So start by asking yourself, what exactly do I want to achieve in the next 30 days, 3 months, or 6 months? Maybe your goal is to hold a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker without switching back to your first language. Maybe it's to understand a podcast episode without subtitles. Or maybe it's simply to introduce yourself with confidence in a professional setting. These specific, measurable objectives act like a compass. They give direction and let you know when you've arrived. Once you have those goals, the next crucial step is to actually track your progress. Most learners skip this part, but it's one of the most powerful motivators. You can keep a simple notebook or use an app to record what you practiced each day. Write down the number of minutes you spent shadowing or how many times you repeated a sentence before it felt natural. At the end of the week, look back at your notes. You'll see proof that you're building consistency, and you'll notice patterns. Maybe you're more productive in the morning, or maybe listening to music in English helps you warm up before speaking. These small records become a mirror of your effort, and that reflection fuels you to keep going. Another powerful technique to accelerate your progress is to combine listening and speaking. Don't just listen passively to podcasts, videos, or songs. After you hear something, pause and explain it out loud in your own words. Pretend you're teaching it to a friend or summarizing it for a class. This forces you to process the language actively, not just absorb it. For example, if you hear a sentence like, "He was running late because the train was delayed," don't just repeat it. Say out loud, "The man couldn't arrive on time, the train came late, so he had a problem." When you do this consistently, you're training your brain to transform input into output, which is the very skill that makes you fluent. Of course, none of this matters if you don't stay consistent, and consistency is easier when you attach your English practice to habits you already have. Think about your daily routine: brushing your teeth, drinking coffee, commuting, checking your phone. What if you linked English practice to one of those? For example, every time you make coffee, you shadow 2 minutes of an English video. Or during your commute, you narrate in English what you see around you. When you attach language practice to existing habits, it becomes automatic instead of something you have to force yourself to remember. Over time, it's not extra work, it's just part of your life. Finally, don't forget to reward yourself. Learning a language is a long journey, and motivation naturally goes up and down. That's why small rewards are important. They give your brain little bursts of joy that keep you moving forward. After a week of consistent practice, treat yourself to your favorite snack, a relaxing activity, or even just take a moment to acknowledge, "I did it. I'm one step closer to fluency." These small celebrations reinforce the behavior, and before you know it, English practice stops being a chore and starts becoming something you actually look forward to. So, to summarize, set clear goals, record your progress, turn listening into speaking, anchor practice into your daily habits, and celebrate your small wins. If you do this, you won't just study English, you'll live it. And that's where real transformation happens.
When you start to feel more confident with your solo English practice and you are ready to take your skills to the next level, it's important to explore more advanced strategies that challenge your listening, speaking, and thinking in English simultaneously. One of the most powerful techniques you can try is audio transcription. Instead of passively listening to a podcast or a video, you stop and write down exactly what you hear. At first, you might miss a lot of words, and that's completely fine. The real benefit comes from the act of listening carefully, noticing pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm, and forcing your brain to connect sounds to words. Over time, you'll start to notice recurring patterns, connected speech, and natural pauses. Once you finish transcribing, you can compare your text with the original transcript if it's available. This comparison will immediately highlight your weak points and help you train your ear to catch details you usually miss. Even 10 minutes of transcription a day can dramatically improve your listening accuracy. Another excellent method is retelling. This works perfectly with stories, short news pieces, or even YouTube videos. The process is simple. You listen or read a short story, and then you close the material and retell the same story in your own words. At first, you may struggle to remember every detail, but the purpose isn't perfection, it's fluency. Retelling forces you to reformulate sentences, use synonyms, and improvise with the vocabulary you already know. Over time, this develops your ability to speak spontaneously without needing to translate in your head. You can also record yourself retelling the story and then compare it to the original, noticing which details you kept and which you left out. This practice strengthens both memory and flexibility in communication, skills that are essential in real-life conversations. If you feel that pronunciation is still a weak spot, focusing on minimal pairs can be a game changer. Minimal pairs are words that differ by only one sound, like ship and sheep, or bat and pat. Training with minimal pairs helps your ear distinguish sounds that your native language might not have. For example, many learners struggle with the difference between R and L, or with the difference between long and short vowel sounds. By listening to these pairs, repeating them out loud, and recording yourself, you can fine-tune your mouth and ear to pick up on these subtle but important distinctions. Over time, your pronunciation will become clearer, and you will feel more confident that people will understand you when you speak.
A fun and creative way to practice speaking is through role reversal with movies or series. Instead of just watching a scene passively, you can pause and step into the role of one of the characters. Play the scene with the subtitles and imitate the character's lines, paying attention to intonation, pauses, and emotional expression. Once you feel comfortable, mute the audio and act out the entire scene yourself. This not only strengthens pronunciation and rhythm, but also trains you to use English naturally in emotional, expressive situations, something textbooks can't give you. By embodying the characters, you stop being just a learner and start performing English like an actor, which is incredibly powerful for fluency. Finally, one of the most underused but highly effective techniques is to use podcast transcripts as scripts for practice. Many podcasts, especially those focused on learning or storytelling, provide transcripts alongside their episodes. You can first listen to the podcast naturally, just to get the general idea. Then, you take the transcript and read it out loud as if you are the speaker. Try shadowing the audio, imitating the speed and tone. Next, put the transcript away and retell the episode in your own words. By combining listening, reading, speaking, and retelling in this way, you turn one single piece of content into a powerful multi-skill training session. The repetition reinforces vocabulary, pronunciation, and fluency all at once. These advanced strategies might feel challenging at first, but that's exactly why they're effective. They push you out of your comfort zone and make your brain work harder in English, just like a workout for your speaking and listening muscles. By incorporating transcription, retelling, minimal pairs, role reversal, and transcript practice into your weekly routine, you'll notice that your fluency, clarity, and confidence grow much faster than with traditional study methods alone. Each of these techniques transforms your solo study sessions into dynamic, high-impact practice that prepares you for real-life communication. When it comes to learning on your own, technology can become your greatest ally. Many learners underestimate how powerful tools like chatbots and artificial intelligence can be when used intentionally. Think about it this way. You may not always have a teacher or a native speaker available, but you almost always have access to your phone or computer. With today's AI-powered apps, you can simulate natural conversations whenever you want. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect partner, or even the perfect words. You just open the app, start typing or speaking, and immediately you are in a dialogue that can mimic a real-life situation. This is one of the biggest breakthroughs of our time. Practice is no longer dependent on having someone next to you. It is available on demand, 24 hours a day. One of the most effective ways to take advantage of this technology is to create role plays. For example, imagine you are ordering a coffee at a cafe in London. You can type or say, "I would like a cappuccino, please." The chatbot can respond like a real barista, perhaps asking if you want sugar or whether you'd like it to stay or to go. If you make a mistake in grammar or word choice, many of these systems highlight it immediately and suggest a better phrasing. This is powerful because instead of waiting until the next English class, you get instant correction right when the idea is fresh in your mind. That level of feedback accelerates progress in a way that used to be impossible for solo learners. You can also practice travel conversations. Let's say you are planning a trip abroad. Open the AI and simulate checking into a hotel. You can say, "Good evening. I have a reservation under my name." The chatbot can play the role of the receptionist, asking for your passport, explaining the amenities, or even making small talk about your flight. By repeating these interactions in a safe, controlled space, you reduce your nervousness when the real situation happens. It feels familiar, like a rehearsal before the actual performance. And the more often you practice, the more automatic your responses become, which is exactly what fluency is about.
Another fun application is debating with the AI. Suppose you want to strengthen your vocabulary and critical thinking in English. You can start a discussion on topics like technology, health, or even movies. The chatbot will argue back, giving you a challenge to defend your point of view, counter arguments, and search for words you don't normally use. This is extremely valuable because it forces you to think in English under a bit of pressure, but still in a safe environment where making mistakes has no consequences. The process strengthens not only your vocabulary, but also your confidence to handle unpredictable conversations. The greatest advantage of technology, however, is its flexibility. You can practice for 5 minutes or for an hour, depending on your schedule. You can speak in the morning, late at night, or even during a lunch break. The correction is immediate, the feedback is available, and you can repeat as many times as you want. Unlike a human partner, the AI will never get tired, never get impatient, and never judge you. It is simply there to help you train over and over until you feel comfortable. And the more you engage with it, the more natural English will sound to you, because you are creating constant exposure to realistic dialogues. So the bonus tip is simple but incredibly effective. Use the tools that already exist in your pocket. Instead of only scrolling through social media in your free moments, dedicate 10 minutes to practicing with a chatbot. Order a meal, check in at the airport, explain your opinion about a topic, or even role-play a job interview. Over time, you'll notice your sentences flow faster, your pronunciation improves, and your confidence grows dramatically. Technology makes it possible to practice English without borders, without excuses, and without limits.
Let's take a moment to recap everything we've covered today, because this journey was full of powerful insights and practical tools. We started by breaking down the myths around speaking English, showing you that your struggles are not about intelligence or talent, but about practice and mindset. From there, we moved into real, practical tips you can start applying immediately, ways to organize your time, structure your learning, and immerse yourself in authentic content. Then, we took a deeper look at motivation, goal setting, and the power of consistency. We didn't stop there. We went even further, exploring advanced strategies like transcription, retelling, and role reversal to challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone. And finally, we unlocked the bonus tip with technology, using chatbots and AI roleplays to simulate conversations and get immediate feedback whenever you need it. Now comes the most important part. What are you going to do with all this? Here's my challenge for you. Don't try to implement everything at once. Instead, pick just one technique that resonated with you the most today. Maybe it's transcribing a short audio. Maybe it's explaining out loud what you just listened to. Maybe it's role-playing ordering a coffee in English with a chatbot. Choose one and commit to doing it today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. That small step will create momentum. And momentum is what separates learners who stay stuck from learners who make real progress. And I don't want you to do this alone. I'd love to hear about your experience. Share your feedback, your thoughts, or even the technique you chose to apply using the hashtag #EnglishTalkShow. This way, we build a community of learners who support and motivate each other. Remember, the more you engage, the more you learn, not just from your own journey, but from others walking the same path. And also, don't forget that I prepared a free PDF filled with exercises that align with everything we discussed. This resource is designed to guide you step by step, making sure you can actually apply the strategies, not just hear about them. Download it, use it, and let it become your companion in your English practice. As we close this session, I want you to keep one thing in your heart. You are never alone in your English journey. Every time you feel stuck, every time you doubt yourself, remember there's a whole community out there, and there are tools, strategies, and people who want to see you succeed. Speaking English is not just about grammar or vocabulary, it's about connection, opportunity, and confidence. And every single time you practice, you're moving closer to that goal. So step forward with courage. Take action today. And remember, you're not just learning English, you're building a skill that will open doors, expand your world, and transform your life.